Today we're taking a look at the Claber Hydro 4 9-volt solenoid timer. The Hydro 4, as the name suggests, can connect up to 4 irrigation systems, controls it all from 2 AAA batteries. The Hydro 4 offers up to 4 separate run times per day, as well as 2 separate programming schedules, allowing you to mix and match irrigation system types onto their own schedules. Due to the Hydro 4's design, this can be used both above ground next to a garden tap, or it can be installed directly into the ground for use with systems like pop-ups. So inside the box, you should find your Hydro 4 unit itself. You'll also get an instruction manual, which we recommend you read through just to see what your options in terms of warranty are, as well as the setup instructions. You'll also receive a small plastic bag which will contain the screws for the lid, as well as the tool to help you install. And you'll also get the 3/4 inch caps, which will allow you to cap off any of the sockets that you're not using. The Hydro 4 is a combination of 4 solenoid valves as well as an internal control unit. To access the control unit, you'll simply have to remove the lid. Bear in mind, if you've installed the screws, you'll need to remove them. And then just simply unscrew this top section to gain access to the computer. Now for ease, if you want to disconnect this computer while you're programming, just simply squeeze down and pull the 2 sections apart. You can move the solenoids out the way just to plug that back in later. Alternatively, if this is installed in the ground, you can take the computer out, program it, and then install it back, save you having to be on your hands and knees. So before you begin, you're going to need to install your batteries into this. Simply locate the battery compartment, twist until it opens. You might find this is a bit tight to begin with because there is an O-ring in there to prevent any water getting in. So unscrew it, find the battery caddy and pop your batteries in. Push that back in and then screw this back on nice and tight, just to make sure again that no water can get in there. There we are. You should now find your screen has come on and it's ready for programming. As previously mentioned, the Hydro 4 has 4 solenoid valves, allowing water up to 4 times a day. One thing to mention, however, is that when you program this, the Hydro 4 will start with solenoid 1 and it will work its way through the rest of the solenoids in series. So when you place in a start time, that will be a start time for solenoid 1, and the rest of the solenoids will follow that until the entire schedule is complete. So to program the Hydro 4, you'll see we've only got access to 3 buttons here, very similar to a lot of other Claber timers. So what we're going to do to start setting this, we're just going to press the middle button, which I'll call the select button. And we'll see a small OK symbol appear in the bottom left-hand side. This is saying that it's now ready for us to input, and we'll just use the arrows to select our current time. I'm just going to choose 1 o'clock here as an example. Once I'm happy the time is correct, I can confirm it again by pressing the middle button. Once we've got the time set, you'll see at the bottom of the screen we've got a flashing icon here. It's asking us to input what day of the week we're on. So we're just using the arrow to select the correct day. In this case it will be Thursday, and again confirming with the middle button. The next screen we come to is the programming or scheduling screen. So you'll see currently here it just says A on. That basically implies that we're just using the first schedule, the A schedule. However, if we use the arrow button, we can change that to be just the B schedule. We can turn both schedules off, or we can turn both schedules on. We'll talk a little bit about that later. So at the moment, I'm going to keep it very simple and just change this to A on, confirming with the middle button. That's the first part of the setup done. So moving on from that first section, we're going to use the right arrow, and this will take us to this screen here with 1A. Now, where a lot of people go wrong with this timer is they assume this is the start time for the program, like a lot of other timers in the market. However, this is actually asking us how long we would like solenoid A or solenoid 1 to open for. So in this example, I'm going to have all 4 solenoids open for 20 minutes. So to change that, I'm just going to hit the middle button. Again, the OK symbol appears. And then I'm just going to adjust using the arrows until I get to the desired number. So there we are. We've got to 20. I'm going to confirm that again with the middle button. And now I can use the right key to solenoid 2. Again, same process, pushing the middle button and using the arrow to program in the runtime, confirming with the middle button. Solenoid 3, same process. And again, solenoid 4, middle button, scrolling for the time we want it to run for, and confirming with the middle button. So now, just quickly recapping that, we have solenoid 1 on schedule A running for 20 minutes, solenoid 2 on schedule A for 20 minutes, 3 on A for 20 minutes, and 4 on A for 20 minutes. So that's scheduled in all our run times for schedule A. So moving on from our run times, if we use the right arrow, we now come to our start times. So as I've mentioned earlier, the start time is for all 4 solenoids, and it will work through them in series. So when I see start time 1, I can edit that by pressing the middle button, and we'll just, for example, say that this is going to start at 3 o'clock, and then I'm confirming with the middle button. Unlike some timers on the market, I don't need to put in an end time because we know we've programmed in 80 minutes worth of runtime across all 4 valves. So this will end at 10 past 4. I can go through and program an extra 3 start times if I want to, just again using the middle button to enter it, arrows to program the start time, and then confirming with the middle button. I won't do that for this particular example, but just know that you can have up to 4 start times a day. And once I move across, you can see these are currently all off, which means I'm only watering once a day, 20 minutes for all 4 valves. Moving on from the run times, if we use the right key here, we now come to the days of the week. Now in here we can program when we want schedule A to take place. This is really where those schedules come into play the most. In this example, we're just going to keep A on every day, but if I were to change that, I can go in by pressing the middle button, and you'll see the day is flashing. And if I just press the middle button, you can see that that now changes, so schedule B is running, no schedule is running, or both schedules are running. In this case, we're only using schedule A, so I'll just press it again to go back to A, and then I can use the arrow to alter any day that I wish just by pressing the middle button until I get the desired schedule. So in this example, every day at 3 o'clock, the timer will switch on, valve A will open for 20 minutes, that will close, then valve 2 will open for 20 minutes, that will close, valve 3 will open for 20 minutes and close, and valve 4 will open for 20 minutes and close. If there's additional start times after that, it will just repeat that process. Once I'm happy I've got the days programmed in, I just use the right arrow over to the exit sign and press the middle button. The Hydro 4 is also compatible with Claber's wireless rain sensor. The two should connect automatically. All you need to do on the Hydro 4 is enable the connection. To do that, you want to find the screen that currently says no, press the middle button, and then use the arrow key to change that to yes. Confirm that with the middle button, and providing the rain sensor and the Hydro 4 computer are within connection range, should connect up automatically for you. If at any point you want to test your lines or flush your lines through, there is a test function on the Hydro 4. Just navigate to it using the arrows, and once you find the word test, simply hit the middle button and you'll now see you've got an option of which line you want to test, so you can navigate through those using the left and right arrows. Once you find the one you want to test, simply press the middle button and that will click open. By default, it will water for 5 minutes before closing. That should be plenty of time to run your system to make sure it's working. There's also flush out the lines. If you don't need it to run for the entire 5 minutes, hit the middle button again. That will turn to off and the valve should close. The Hydro 4 has a manual watering option or a test function. To find this, just use your right arrow until you find the word test. Hit the middle button and now it will ask you which line you'd like to test. You can navigate using the arrows to find the line. In this case, we'll just test line 2. And when you're ready to open it, just hit the middle button. You'll see a 5-minute logo appear. That basically means that it will water for 5 minutes before automatically closing. However, if you just want to run it for a minute or two, you can hit the middle button again and that will close the solenoid off. Once you're done testing or flushing your lines through, you'll want to come out of that test mode. To do that, just navigate with the arrows until you see the word test on the screen and then hit the middle button again. So we do often have customers call us up for help when programming these Hydro 4s. Usually the confusion comes in around the scheduling. Quite often customers don't understand that it's the run times for the valves that they're putting in first and then the start times which apply to every valve. The result of that is we often have timers that are coming on continuously one after another and watering all day. To avoid that, just bear in mind those first 4 screens that you're programming, those are the run times for each of the valves. At the next 4 screens you come to, those are the start times. In most cases, you're probably only using 1 or 2 of those a day. If there's any confusion with that, or any confusion in regards to using the A and B scheduling, you can call our team and we can walk you through how to program the Hydro 4. So a few things to mention about the base unit for the Hydro 4. You'll see we've got the 4 connection points for the 4 valves. These are all in 3/4 inch male BSP, meaning they're compatible with pressure reducers, hose connectors, nut and tail connectors, pretty much anything you're going to find in an irrigation context, as well as MDPE fittings. However, only MDPE fittings up to 20 millimeter. 225 millimeter male fittings will not fit on these as there's not enough space between them. On the back end, or the entry point for the water, again a 3/4 inch male BSP fitting. Now usually when connecting this up to a water source, we'd recommend either MDPE pipe, which is suitable for mains pressure, and this section of the system will be under constant pressure, so you need to bear that in mind. Or if you're placing it next to a tap, a high pressure steel braided hose is also a very good option. In some cases you can use LDPE if your water pressure is very low, but we don't recommend it if you don't have to. Once you've got your Hydro 4 computer programmed, you want to reinsert it back into the case, just making sure you join up those wire connections, seat it down and then screw on your protective cover. Make sure these are all nice and tight just in case any water does get in, it can't get to that computer unit. And then you're going to want to fit the lid. So it's very simple, you just line up the holes with the connections here. Push it so it's nice and tight. There is an O-ring here, so that is watertight. However, if you do not install the 2 screws that come with the Hydro 4, you've got two big openings at the top so water can get in. You'll see with these screws, they've got a little O-ring as well, so when you install them, they'll make it nice and watertight. Take your little tool and just simply screw it in. It doesn't have to be extremely tight, just screw it in, hand tight, both sides. And that'll be now safe to either install into the ground or leave open to the elements, because all the internal items will be watertight. And your Hydro 4 is ready to use. When it comes to winterizing your Hydro 4, it will depend on how you've got it installed. If you've got it installed above ground, what we recommend doing is isolating the water, disconnecting the input, and then disconnecting your sprinkler lines just to let any water drain out. I also like to open each of the valves in turn just to let any water that might be in them out. Remove the batteries and then reseal everything back up ready for next year. If the Hydro 4 is in the ground, you're obviously not going to have access to unhook all the different connections. So what I'd recommend doing is isolating the water source and then opening the valves up for 5 to 10 minutes just to let any water within this unit drain into your underground lines and then out of any drain points you've got installed.